Welcome back to OMG MotoGP and your extra dose of MotoGP ahead of the penultimate race weekend of the season, Keith. We're going to Qatar and there are just 14 points now between Bagnaia and Martin. It's a crucial weekend. I mean, there's only two left, so of course it's going to be a crucial weekend, but it could be sewn up here.
Yeah, it could be sewn up. 37 points is the key number of points to go to Valencia. Who wants to go to Valencia with a dogfight there? I mean, with the weather that's likely and so on and so forth. So, but I don't think it will be done. I think we'll be going to Valencia with and the same in Moto3 as well, looking for a world champion at the final round. But I mean, I think the thing to say about Qatar, all the reports are from trackside is it is absolutely incredible what they've done there. We've obviously moved from the first round of the year, as Qatar traditionally for MotoGP has always been, to where we are now, and that was purely and simply because of the rebuild that had gone on there for Formula One ostensibly, but obviously it works for us as well. But it is now the most incredible venue. Yet to see what the track's like as far as track grip and the like is concerned. That
and
obviously
these curbs, of course.
Indeed. I mean, these are the things that do make the difference, and we'll see whether there are any complaints over that at all as we roll on through Friday. But right now, it's looking like a great venue. I mean, so many things we've got to look forward to. I think there are some negatives. I mean, one of the big negatives of this week is the Scottish guy, Rory Skinner, who's again, why is it this kid always ends up with the shitty end of the stick? When he won the Talent Cup series, they gave the award for the bonus effectively to the third place guy in the Talent Cup and overlooked Rory Skinner, even though he won it hands down and was without doubt the best. He came back to Britain and rode in Super Sport and did brilliantly in Super Sport. Then he did well in Superbike in Britain. He's had to really work hard for his effort. And as a rookie, in his first year in Moto2, which is a notoriously tough class, American racing haven't covered themselves in glory the way they've treated him. Yeah, they say they're supporting him. They put this. First of all, it was that basically he'd been let go, and then sort of the social media reaction was so incredibly volatile. Quite rightly, I'm glad to see the fans are across it. Gave American racing a real load of crap, and they deserved it. And effectively, then came another tweet that said, "Well, we're supporting him, we're looking after him." All right. I understand the politics of small teams that have got to keep funding on side. They've got to keep themselves afloat effectively. So Marcus Ramirez, getting their first podium since 2020 is a big deal for American racing. You can understand why they want to reward him, but dropping a rookie in his first year when he's got a 2-year contract is, not good business in my view. Look at what happened to Jake Dixon. The same thing could have happened to Jake Dixon going back a while. If Jake Dixon hadn't been given that second year, which, to be frank, it looked like he wasn't going to get at one point. The team and he were at loggerheads a little bit about machine setup. He banged his head at Texas, if you remember, to precede the whole process of things. And he was out for a few weeks, and they gave it Passini came in and subbed for him, and Passini ended up with a motorbike that didn't work for him either. And Passini was a good old hand who they knew that he should get results for them. So Dixon suddenly was listened to by his team a little bit better, and look where Dixon is now. I mean, he's vying for third place in the championship. He should end up third in the world this year. Top man in Moto2. Rory Skinner is the kind of kid that you could expect, that kind of super professional, lovely family behind him. And American Racing have dropped him, which, despite the fact they're saying they're supporting him through the winter, what that actually means, I have no idea at all. Because if he hasn't got a ride on a Moto2, competitive Moto2 bike during 24, when he had a second-year contract still to come, I don't know. I think he's been dealt a bad hand, and I think American Racing should look at themselves regarding that.
What I mean, if you're Rory Skinner's manager or you're Rory Skinner, what are you doing now?
Do you know what? I mean, he's just going to have to pull his boots up, isn't he, again? I mean, he's used to being in this kind of position, I suspect, but he must be wondering what he's got to do to really get a great shot at it. Is he capable of performing, at that level? I think he probably is, but he's not had a run at it. And I mean, you need really 3 years. I mean, a 2-year contract puts you in the marketplace, and he kind of has shown that he deserves that. Had a machine problem last time out, then meant he's starting from 26th on the grid. he's a pro as well. He's the kind of kid that you'd want on your team because he hasn't really given anybody a load of stick. He hasn't thrown his toys out the pram and had a bit of a go. Can you imagine if it was me?
I can only imagine.
And it's kind of one of them situations where I can't feel sorry because it's business. I understand the business. He understands the business. But you've got to say that a talented kid is being passed. And the other thing is as well, Dorna have dipped in their pockets so many times. You go back to many, many Brits that have been the benefactors of Dorna funding. Jeremy McWilliams, if you want to go back to Jeremy McWilliams. I mean, McWilliams wouldn't have been in Grand Prix, if it hadn't been for the fact Dorna were shelling out. Jake Dixon wouldn't be in Grand Prix if it wasn't for the fact Dorna have funded his position, because there just isn't the sponsorship funding in the UK for our own homegrown riders. But Dorna realise that if we're going to keep having 45,000 people at trackside, which is a lowly number at Silverstone, a place like Silverstone aren't making any money. Dorna aren't getting the kind of PR that they want, not the inches that they need in the press and the footage they need on news feeds. They need British riders at the top end. Maybe they don't have faith in Rory. I don't know.
Is there a bit of a Pedro Acosta effect where somebody like that, who's clearly so talented, comes in and can just sort of do it in their first year, move on to the next, and then that really makes everybody else look mediocre? And if you're not at that level, then why would a team take a chance on you? You're not going to go to MotoGP because you've got to compete with that.
I think it's a good point. I think it's a very good point, and it shows just how good the Spanish system is, the Italian system to a certain extent, and the like, how they are maturing their riders from a very young age right the way through to Grand Prix level. And we're not doing that. And I think that, BSB, British Superbikes, the best series from a fan and spectator point of view, great racetracks, great racing every single time. But it's not sort of honing the skills of a Grand Prix rider, perhaps, to where we need to be. And they're all older. You look at the riders in BSB, they're all older. It's a situation where they're already past their sell-by date by the time we get to MotoGP Grand Prix. When we're talking about 16, 17, it will be 18 years old from now on, of course, because 18 is now the minimum age for Grand Prix. But that, for me, is probably going to increase the logjam of real talent that we've got all waiting to just jump up into Grand Prix. Ding, I'm 18, whack, straight in. All this superstars from Spain or Italy. They have the weather. The other thing is you've probably got to go to Spain. You go back to Bradley Smith and people like, his father and the like funded him, in Spain. It's a costly exercise for young Brits to be able to do it. And I know Rory Skinner's family have been behind him. I know I'm a bit of an advocate for Rory and his family because I like them. I like the way they treat people. I mean, they're not friends of mine, as in sort of personal friends of mine, but I like the way they go about their business. And to see Rory take a smack in the teeth again, really. And as every year goes by, just means he's going to get out. Yeah, he's going to have a career in motorbikes. Of course he is. He's a great motorcycle racer. He might come back to the British Championship and win it. I don't know how many times over. We don't know yet. But it's a shame that he's not being given a real crack of the whip at the level he's at. American Racing, is that a great Moto2 team? Probably not. You would say at this particular point there are other Moto2 teams that you would expect to be able to finish, even though the kit's almost the same, would be able to finish ahead of American Racing. So it's not even really a top Moto2 team as it is at the moment. Might be, but not yet.
Yeah, well, we should try and get Rory on. Tell his side of the story.
Oh, I mean, that's not. I'm sure that he would come on, but the thing is, he's smart enough not to get involved in our kind of prompting to say something out. When you're a current rider, that's the other thing you have, and I have been here. Politically, you put your bloody oar in the water and start spitting your dummy out, and it goes down badly with teams and team management because you become a loose cannon then. And Rory's far too professional for that. So probably we'll leave him alone until he hasn't got a Grand Prix career.
We won't come calling just yet, Rory, don't you worry. Well, we wish him all the best for the rest of this season at least. But as we say, he's been axed with a year left on that contract by American Racing and Moto2. Let's just jump down to Moto3 briefly because that is a title fight that's going down to the wire as well. I think it's 13 points, isn't it? Sasaki versus Jama Masia. So that's another one to watch. And we know Moto3, in your book, should be the last one of the day. It's one of the best races of the weekend.
Always, and the great thing about it is, I suppose, is that you can get a lot of spoilers in between the two main men. I mean, some of the other, you might say that it's predictable in MotoGP at the moment, but Moto3 consistently, you just don't know what you're going to get. And with a racetrack that you've got no real data on, it goes the same way and it's got the same corners. But when you've got a new surface, and quite rightly, as you pointed out, different curbs and so on and so forth, there's certain nuances that are going to be different. And Moto3 is all about setup and getting it dead right. So, it's Sasaki, 13 points is not enough. We've only got 2 rounds to go. You got 50 points on the board. One mistake or a whole load of competition in between you and your competitor, and that job's done. It can be done this weekend, of course. 13 points. You could find that Jaume Masia gets it done before we get to Valencia. Certainly, as I've said already, that would be my choice, given the opportunity. Get it out of the way before we get to the final round.
Yeah.
The other thing you've got to remember with all of these things, and this goes for Bagnaia and Martin as well, I mean, particularly in MotoGP, they're at the end of their allocation, motor-wise. They're at the end of their allocation. They're, 7 motors for the Grand Prix they've got. They've used all of their motors at some stage, and you'll find that they'll be swapping motors in and out for certain sessions even sometimes with these. We've got one that's done low mileage, this one's peaking a little bit, this one's, they'll have already gauged what each and every engine is doing. And how many times have we seen, a tech drop the ball somewhere along the lines? If it goes pop at the most inopportune moment, that could write off a series. So Bagnaia and Martin, it's not just them that's up against the pressure, it's everybody behind them that's got pressure as well. All of the technicians and data engineers that are working on their side of the team.
Well, and it's longer seasons, only getting longer as well. People get tired. Tired is one thing. They get a bigger allocation. I think if it had gone one more round or something, I think they would have had another motor in the system. So they're not really stretching the mileage, but it's always possible when everything gets to this stage of the year, depending on how they've used up motors, it's important. And you touched on it, I think, just there a little bit with this tyre pressure rule. Now we're coming into a situation. This last 4 races, 2 sprints, 2 Grand Prix. Both Bagnaia and Martin have had a warning, which means the next thing they get is a penalty, which could basically wreck. Yeah, I mean that. It's very, very strange for me that I haven't been able to sort this out. I mean, Michelin, notoriously in the old days, could build you a compound. Okay, not a construction perhaps of a complete tyre, so we'll let them off with that. But they could build you a compound overnight. They'd fly it in, or they'd truck it in from Clermont-Ferrand on race day or qualifying day. They have the capacity to change direction quite quickly, which is slightly strange when you hear things along the lines of that it's going to be 2025 before we get a new construction of tyre and the like. I think Michelin have to take some responsibility for where we're at. This narrow band of tyre pressure that they've got to work within, the lower part of that band is Michelin's recommendation, and the higher part of that band is where the tyre doesn't work well enough for riders to have the feel they need or the grip they need when they're breaking into a corner. Those are the 2 parameters really. One is a rider, compatibility, and one is a regulation and safety apparently compatibility. I might have said before that there's been nothing that we've heard about or seen a Michelin failure through a low tyre pressure, but apparently on microscopic investigation, Michelin have seen slight degradation due to lower tyre pressure situations. So there is a safety issue. I'm not going to come across as any kind of an expert when it comes to the makeup of a tyre. I just know what I would like as a motorbike racer, and that is something that you could run at the kind of pressure that you would want it to run at to give me the best performance from it. And they're not getting that. So Michelin, somewhere along the lines, need to make something that works better for both parties, that's safe and, of course, gives the rider what he needs at the front end. The last thing we want is a championship decided via tyre pressure penalties. Let's circle back to some of the rumours that are going on for this still remaining seat at Repsol Honda. Luca Marini now seems to be the front runner. Some people are saying it's a deal that's already done. He'll be the second Ducati man to hop over to a Honda, but some people are saying, I'm reading in the news, this is the worst decision anyone's ever made in the history of MotoGP. What is Valentino Rossi thinking? Why would Marini want to go to Honda? Is he just chasing the money?
Zarco's already gone. That's your other Honda man, your other Ducati man that's gone across. He had to, of the age and what was available to him. And I think the same situation, to some extent, is in the case of Luca Marini. Obviously, he's a much younger man. I mean, he's going to be the highest option, as in Championship at the moment, that Honda are going to be able to pinch where he is. But he's at the back of the queue at Ducati. Yeah, if you look at who else is in the queue, Marini is at the back of the queue. So being a full factory rider is important. Being a full factory Honda rider, he's going to have a massive income extra, which may or may not have some influence. But he's going to be the factory man, which means he is going to be able to influence the direction that the Honda take on. Honda have got a lot of new personnel for next year, for this year, towards the end of this year. So I'm making an assumption that a factory like Honda wouldn't be in it for another year if they weren't actually serious about trying to get themselves back on track. What else was available to Luca Marini? Not a lot. I think that he's risked it for a Swiss kit, as they said in the old advert a long time ago. He's decided to go for it. And I can't blame him for that. Change is good as a rest. There's all those old bloody cliches that you can trot out if you like. But I think it's a calculated move that he's made. And he moves out of the shadow of his brother. Who's going to be the crew chief? Will it be Santi Hernandez, who was Marc Marquez's long-standing HRC team crew chief? There's going to be quite a lot of things here that are quite positive. And I think that Luca Marini will be looking at it very positively. Negativity, of course, is going to be a load of that because, Marc Marquez is about to break his own record for crashes. I think he equaled him last time out, 27 or something it was, in a year. I mean, because he's been so off the radar, we haven't seen him crash that many times this year. But he's already broken his own. He's about to break his own record for crashes in 1 year. That's a remarkable stat. 27 crashes in a year. When I think back, you wouldn't have survived if that had been in the good old days, as everybody used to say. You'd be at your own funeral. It's incredible that someone can crash 27 times in a year, especially a man that's hurt himself and had as many operations as he's had in recent times. It's incredible. So that's a stat that will get broken, I'm sure. Yeah. I can't imagine him going through Valencia and this one in Qatar without crashing again.
No, and I think he said in the build-up he's not particularly optimistic ahead of Qatar because Honda generally haven't gone well there in the past anyway. So when he's going to be trying slinging the best out of his Honda, him and Mir, who's been on the floor a fair few times as well. I don't know where he is in the standings, but I imagine he's quite high up as well. Anyway, I think Marc Marquez is just trying to get to the end of the year.
I'll tell you what is going to be interesting this weekend, of course. Enea Bastianini won his first MotoGP here at Qatar. Mm-hmm. Again, with the caveat that the track has changed in surface and curbs and so on, so it will be slightly different. But he comes here with a massive confidence, and he can make the difference in what's happening up front. If he can go out and win the race and take those 5 points extra than the next man, then straight away that spreads things a little bit as well. There are going to be one or two spoilers that are going to be here for MotoGP. It's going to be anybody that manages to hang on in there. But I mean, Enea Bastianini, you've got to look that he's going to be in the mix this weekend. Bezzecchi, he can consolidate his third place in the championship as well this weekend, of course. Yeah,
he's trying to keep Binder behind, isn't he? I think we should lay a prediction on the line for each of us for title. Who's going to sew up the title? Is it going to be Bagnaia or Martin? Who are you going for?
Hey, I have for recent weeks in my mind. Even though he's behind, I have just got a Jorge Martin feeling. I mean, I think that he's just going to go for it. Whether Bagnaia will manage to out mature. In my view, I mean, he's a clever rider, Bagnaia. He knows exactly what he's got to do. He's got the talent to do it. He's got the bike to do it. But I think that the championship is going to come down to luck for me, rather than a straight dogfight. I think there's going to be an element of luck in it somewhere. Someone's going to tuck the front. Someone's going to pop them over. Something is going to happen that makes the difference for this championship, other than a straightforward dogfight. I hope that's not the case. But that would be my bet. And I've just got a feeling that Martin might end up on the right side of that rather than the wrong side of it.
Okay.
That's a guess. Of course.
You were sitting on the fence, and then you picked a side. So there we go. I think I've always been a Jorge Martin fan. I would like him to win personally. No disrespect to Pecco, but I think it's quite nice for a different man to win the title, and I think it would be a brilliant story as well for Jorge Martin to nick the title in the last couple of rounds of the season. I think
Martin will do it, but I'd prefer Bagnaia to do it. Strangely enough. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that he's been under a lot of pressure. I think that the tension got to him at one point. I think that the bike does not look like it's under him quite as comfortably as Jorge Martin's set up and the like. You know, you can be sure the Pramac team is a much easier team to ride for, as in socially, personally. So I think Jorge Martin is on the crest, and that will probably what carries him through. And again, if it comes down to luck as well, but I think Bagnaia's had to get over a few more things. He's bloody tense in that red team, that's for sure, the full factory team. And now Bagnaia's got the extra pressure of his teammate beating him. You know, Bastianini is now doing what we all predicted he probably would do at the beginning of the season, destabilise the other side of the garage. So it's not so much a calm red team anymore. That's a highly pressurised cooking pot in the factory Ducati side of things.
Oh, there's some good stories to still go for this 2023 season, isn't there? I think we're out of time for this week's extra now.
Well, looking forward, I think that we need to just pay attention to what's going on with the technical concessions as well, because there's been more and more talk about that. So I think to give everybody a heads up, I mean, it's the concessions that might come Honda and Yamaha's way, much to the annoyance of others, of course, in this situation. So that's something we've got to watch out for as well when we get towards Valencia and the big test that's coming after that. We can do a whole hour on the test afterwards. So I'm looking forward to that.
We're going to run Pete McLaren.
We've got the NEC Live coming up as well. We've got the NEC Live coming up. FIM World Champions will be at the NEC on the Saturday as well. I think the first Saturday. So some big names are going to be up at the NEC. Me and Julian Ryder are going to be on stage with James Whittam on the Thursday, the 23rd, I think it is. So me and the bearded one, not you, for a change, will be on the stage there. In fact, we will bloody get you up there thinking about it.
Ooh. What day is it?
Well, me and Jules are up there on Thursday the 23rd. If you fancy it, get a train up from town straight into Birmingham International. It's the easiest place to get to. You haven't got to wear a jacket. You haven't got to wear your pleather jacket for this one.
But I know I have to for any bike event. I have to
just to make us laugh.
It's what distinguishes the 4 and the 2 wheels.
Well, you can come straight up from Euston in London, straight up to Birmingham International, step off it, and you're in the NEC. You've not even got to go outside if you don't want to. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. I love it. I mean, because we jump on at Northampton here, and it's 40 minutes up the road for us. Not got to park a car, not got to pay for anything, not got to get cold, and you can come and go on as many trains as you like. It's really easy. So the NEC, Motorcycle Live, got to be the place to be.
Oh, that's a nice free plug for them. But I'll check the calendar and I might join you. Anything else? Any other things you want to get across, or should we wrap it up there?
Joe Roberts is back. I suppose that's the Rory Skinner story as well. Marcus Ramirez, Joe Roberts are the American racing. I mean, I think we should all think very positively for Rory Skinner. That's my last word.
Positive thoughts, positive vibes for Rory Skinner. Well, look, thank you very much, Keith Ewan. As always, I've been Harry Benjamin, and we shall be back next week, looking back at all things Qatar. And next week is our special track design episode. So do send in your questions for our circuit designers. We'll be talking Qatar, Valencia, Mandalika, Buddha International, and bike versus car tracks as well. So do join us for that conversation. I think it will be well worth a listen. But in the meantime, you can keep a track of everything on our socials at OMG MotoGP. If you want to send us a question, you can do it there in the comments section below, or you can email us. It's omgmotogp@gmail.com. And I know there's a million questions that have gone unanswered. We will answer them in the off season. We will get to them. Don't worry. But in the meantime, we'll see you next week. Enjoy Qatar.